Next on the Broadway Show, no doubt about it, Amy Ryan is amazing, and we had a chance to chat. We're taking a walk with the Tony-nominated star of Lempicka, Eden Espinosa. I'm Tamsen Fadal, and this is the Broadway Show. We're on the road to the Tonys, the big show just a couple of weeks away. And between now and then, we're celebrating Broadway's biggest shows. I'm Tamsen Fadal. I'm so glad you're here. Talk about earning a Tony nomination. Amy Ryan pulled off the impossible when she stepped in at the very last minute in the revival of Doubt. Now Amy has picked up an acting nomination. We had a chance to chat. I think you're the heroine of Broadway right now, jumping in literally at the last moment. So was this out of the blue? Like, it wasn't that you had thought you got a phone call?
I had plans to go see Doubt because I got the flyer from the roundabout to say come see Tyne Daly and Lila Schreiber. I was like, yes, I can't wait. No, it was a late Sunday night phone call. What are you doing next week? Huh? Oh, I'm supposed to go to Colorado with my family. You think you want to do this instead? Oh gosh. All right, let me think about this. So,
how did you make that decision? Like, how do you make that decision? Because we can apply it to a lot of different things, right? But this is...
Yeah, it's one of those decisions. I mean, nothing was really, it wasn't a wedding I was missing out on. Yeah. It wasn't like we were going to Colorado and I don't really ski anymore, so fine. My family went on without me. But it's one of those moments I do remember saying, I'll call you back. It was like 9 o'clock on Sunday night. And I got off the phone and I spoke to my family and they were so calm. They're like, well, why wouldn't you do it? And that was an interesting challenge to lay at my feet. It was like, well, yeah, I had no argument back. Other than that, I don't know how to get to it, but I know I want to do it. So it was a fast decision, but then the work began, starting at 5:30 in the morning every morning for the next few weeks, getting up, very early to learn lines and figure out how to navigate through this world. But those first few performances, I had the scripts on stage. Okay. Whenever I was at the desk, I had scripts and I learned the lines
around the script.
When I was walking around the script. I knew those lines first. It was so out of order. So it was truly sit there, stand there. Yeah. Every once in a while, I say why. Do I have time for a question? Why do I stand there? Why do I? But it was really by hook or by crook.
What do you like most about it? I mean, it's an incredible cast, obviously, but it's also a story that we know so well.
I was very aware that this incredible cast, Lila Schreiber, Zoe Kazan, and Quincy Tyler Bernstein, they had a very dramatic shift in their plans for this show. And when I joined, they were cool as a cucumber. They were they showed me they were, and they were so supportive and anything you need. And so I was walking into this just wall of love and support. And then on top of that, it's an excellent play. It's this well-crafted, well-sided, two sides of an argument. And also, I find now that I'm more aware of it as I've calmed down over the weeks, it's such a great conversation with the audience. Mm-hmm. They're so responsive vocally, and that's thrilling. It is alive. Obviously, it's live theater, but it is alive, and that is such a thrill.
Hell's Kitchen is this year's most nominated musical at this year's Tony Awards, with 13 nods, including Best Musical. It's based on the early life and hit music of singer-songwriter Alicia Keys. It's time to take a walk with a Broadway star, so let's send it out to Charlie Cooper.
Kecia, it is an honor to be walking you to work.
Oh, thank you.
And I'm just so grateful that you made the time because you're literally in between shows right now.
In between shows, yes.
What's it feel like for you? Because you grew up, born and raised in New York City.
Yeah.
And you are one of the main characters in a show where New York is a major character.
That's right.
What's it feel like for you? Does this feel like a full circle moment?
It absolutely feels like a full circle moment. I went to high school 2 blocks from here.
Insane.
One of my best friends grew up in the building that we're singing about and talking about in Hell's Kitchen. So I've known that building since I'm 14 years old.
Wow.
So it definitely is full circle.
We talk about these powerful moments in the show, and I think about the song Perfect Way to Die.
Yes.
And the visuals that are coupled with that.
Yes.
I don't think that anyone, at least not for me, I never thought a moment like that would exist in a show like this.
I agree.
It's just so deep. It speaks to, I imagine, everybody in the audience.
Yes.
When you read that moment in the script, or just during rehearsals, or any of that, talk to us a little bit about how that impacted you.
You know, at first it made me weepy. I feel that it's a privilege to sing that song, especially at this time in our history and all that we've been through. And secondly, because I have a black son.
Yes.
Who I had to protect in a different kind of a way growing up. It wasn't just, you know, I was just mom and we could just, you know, dance through the lilacs and go on with life. There were things that he needed to know in order to survive because I couldn't be there 24/7. And so I love the fact, it is a privilege to me that I get to sing that song and we get to see some of what that song represents because it's only a small part.
It's been, I mean, decades at this point, and you have that Tony nominee under your belt. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What does this moment feel like? And look who's to your right.
So the Tony nominee moment, that's hilarious. So here we are. This represents what the 7-year-old inside of her wanted to be. At 7 years old, I started to dream about being on Broadway, about being on television, and what that would look like. And then as I went to Broadway shows through school as a kid, I was a public school student from New York City.
Yeah.
And you see these faces on the side and it's like, wow, look what those people are doing. So this is the first show. I've done 10 Broadway shows and this is the first one where my face is on the building. And it blows me away. The first day I walked by here and it was up, I started weeping.
Yeah.
You know, and not just because my face is on the side of the building. It's about what it represents to me and the work that I've put in and the desire to be that face that another little black girl will walk by and say, man, look at that lady. She has locks too, and she's in this beautiful wrap on her head. She looks like my mom, my auntie, my grandma, all the melanin, honey, that some little girl will say, I can do that.
Yeah.
I can do that.
It's a return to the jazz age. The Great Gatsby is now on Broadway. Let's send it out to Beth Stevens.
Thanks, Tamsen. After spending years on the small screen, Sara Chase was preparing to return to Broadway in The Great Gatsby. That's when she faced a daunting and unexpected personal challenge. I sat down with her as she shared her story publicly for the first time. I want to ask you how you first started to be a performer.
My mother signed me up for the summer camp musical without telling me. So I did that as an activity. They gave me 3 lines. It got a laugh, and I've been chasing that ever since.
And when did you think this should be my career?
Actually, I knew when I saw my first Broadway show that I had to do that, which was Meet Me in St. Louis.
Which didn't last that long, did it?
No. So, but there was a little girl in there, Tootie, so I knew that that was something that I could do. And I've been obsessed ever since.
What do you love about playing Myrtle?
I love that she gets to be the comedic relief, at least in Act 1, and have fun. I have such a blast in Act 1. Act 2 obviously gets very serious, but she's a good time, and I love her wig and her costumes.
And you are kind of known as being a comedic actress. You have a lot of comedy chops. Tell me about that.
Musical theater and comedy are tied for my 2 loves. And then I get to do both in this, but yeah, most of my training is from Upright Citizens Brigade, Amy Poehler's theater, and most of my resume is things like Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt and The Simpsons, and I just love making people laugh. I love comedy.
Okay, we're going to turn from comedy to something a little more serious, which is you found out some staggering news while this transition was happening to Broadway.
I have the BRCA gene, which predisposes you to having either breast or ovarian cancer, and I have a family history of it. So right before rehearsal started, a couple weeks, I had my fallopian tubes out preventatively because I thought if I didn't get it done now, it would be a year before Gatsby was over and I couldn't get it done. And I thought that would be it. And then the second week of rehearsal, my doctor called me, and I remember I was listening to All in the Family because our dialect coach said, you should listen to Edith Bunker. that's the accent you should have. And I just chose a random episode, and Edith was talking about if she had cancer, would Archie still love her or something like that. And I was like, that's weird. Then my phone rings, and it's my phone rings, and the doctor says, are you alone? I said, yes. Why? He's like, are you sitting down? I said, that's not going to be good. So he was like, we found cancer in the fallopian tubes. So obviously the first thing you want to know is like, what's the prognosis? Is it like good? Is it bad? He was like, it's very, very early. Here's what we're going to do. You're going to get another surgery. You're going to get your ovaries out. You're going to have a hysterectomy, and then you have to have chemo for 6 rounds. And then of course my second question was, can I still do Gatsby? He and the other doctors really were so good about working with me and my schedule. We got out a calendar, and we just sort of tried to make it work.
How did you process that in terms of your career?
I made the decision for some reason not to tell anybody in the creative team or management, but I did tell Eva and Sam and Jeremy and Noah, the principal cast, and John, because we had gotten so close at the paper mill that it would be weird to hide something like that from them. And of course they were so unbelievably supportive, and I felt like I didn't have to be in that rehearsal room with this. I was carrying a giant secret, but at least they knew that. I don't enter till scene 5, so I wasn't needed for the first 3 days of tech rehearsals. So we scheduled the surgery on the first day of tech. I recovered for 3 days, and on the 4th day, I went back to the theater. And no one knew except the stage manager and the assistant costume designer, because I had to explain why I was a little more expanded.
Wow, that's a lot to process, a lot going on in your life during that time.
Yeah.
What kept you going? What made you feel like you could get back to work?
I wanted to be on Broadway again, and I love this role, and I didn't see any reason why I couldn't do both. And I think it was just, I took it marker by marker. So, it was like, okay, get through tech, get through the first preview, get to opening, get to the cast recording. And every time I had something else to look forward to. One of the first things when my doctor told me the diagnosis, I said is, I promise you, if I get through this, I will speak about it. In my opinion, if you know what you can do to help yourself, you should do it. And if I have to be a warning to people, I hope me telling my story will help other people not have to go through this.
Welcome back to the Broadway Show. I'm Tamsen Fadal. Let's get back to it. Lempicka's Broadway run was short, but it's made a big impact on the life of its star. Now, Eden Espinosa has a Tony nomination to show for it. Let's send it out to Paul Wontorek.
I'm here with 2024 Tony nominee Eden Espinosa. I've been waiting to say Tony nominee.
That's never gonna get old.
How is life as a Tony nominee?
It's great. I mean, it's great. I'm just, these last couple days have been a little crazy and nonstop, but good.
I really wanted to take the time to properly honor your career. I've been a fan for so many years, and I've seen you slay at every one of these theaters. So I think it'd be fun, and we're gonna start right here. This is the Nederlander Theater, very kind of, for me, like a legendary theater because of Rent.
Yes.
Because Rent played here, and you were the final Maureen
I
Johnson.
was.
What are your memories of this theater?
Well, my first trip to New York, I was a senior in high school. One of my best friends in high school and our moms came to New York. All I wanted to do was to see Rent.
Sure.
We bought tickets from a scalper. Thank God they were real. But this was the first Broadway show I ever saw in the Nederlander. So to have a full circle moment and be in the closing cast, it was the summer of dreams. But then to be Idina standby, and I was just, she was everything to me. So there's a lot of special memories tied to that show and to this theater.
So here we are, a little bit of Brooklyn on 45th Street.
Yes.
Because this is where Brooklyn, the musical, played, and you were Brooklyn. The costumes were
Yes.
were made.
Yes.
I don't want to say made out of garbage.
Yeah, but they
made
were
out of like
made
found
out
items.
of things that you could get on the street,
Yeah, it was like
find
the
on
best,
the street.
the best drag race challenge ever.
Babe, that's right. It was ahead of its time of like make something out of nothing, and these costumes were
Oh my God.
amazing. Just felt like couture gowns made out of the I Heart New York, diner bodega bags and trash bags. And
I remember it so vividly.
Yeah.
What you looked like on
yeah,
that stage.
it was very, very cool.
The Gershwin, Wicked. You've
My
done
first
that show.
home, my
Your
first home.
Your actual first official
Yes.
Broadway show.
Yep.
And it's like a legacy.
I
Like
know.
endless Alphabas, but you were Alphaba number 2-ish?
Sure.
And then for many years, Alphaba was a big part of your life.
Yeah.
Like how many years of your life, you did a lot of different
I
contracts?
did, yeah, I did a contract every year for 7 years.
Wow.
From 2003 to 2010. In New York, in San Francisco, and Los Angeles.
This is an emotional stop on our tour.
is.
The final stop, the Longacre Theater. You just finished a run playing Tamara de Lempicka in Lempicka. You received a Tony Award nomination for your performance, very well deserved, but you're no longer on this stage every night.
Right.
I feel like many people have reacted to different things about the story.
Yeah.
What did you react to, and what were you sort of holding to your heart about this woman?
Yeah, I feel like we really portrayed a fully rounded human that was messy and flawed and, made decisions out of necessity and had to deal with the repercussions of that. And I just feel like I'm very proud to portray a fully bodied human.
When you actually take the time to look at your career like we just did over this little walk, how does it feel when you think about that girl that went to the workshop for Brooklyn and all the things you've been able to do and all the fans?
It's very emotional because I think sometimes we get caught up on like looking at other people's paths or other people's careers and go, well, I don't have that. That didn't happen for me. And to have this little walk down memory lane, I'm very proud.
Hi there, I'm Eddie Redmayne and you're watching The Broadway Show.
Broadway's biggest night just a few weeks away, and now we're getting to know this year's Tony nominees. Here's Beth Stevens with another edition of Building Broadway.
Thank you for welcoming me to the set of Appropriate. And congratulations on 8 Tony nominations, both for the play, for you two, and for the whole design team, which does not happen that often. Can you tell me, Kimie, about some of the ideas that were discussed in the beginning about creating a visual sense for this show?
We use the word living room play. Like, this is actually a living room play. So we are going to make a house that is also another character. This house is just talked about throughout from the beginning. And of course, in the end, it has to totally transform. We really went deep into the primary research of what these plantation homes in Arkansas are, of course, specific about where the other rooms are. We only see really the living room and the upstairs, but the layout of the whole house was very important so that we feel the rest of the world.
This set or this place is like a character, and we really feel that, especially with the epilogue. Tell me how you envisioned that, how you worked on it.
On the page, Brandon has written something which I think in our initial reading of it collectively is about time. We don't know how much time is passing, but these are sort of increments of time that are separated or interpolated by blackouts, which are a kind of like redacted space. It also becomes apparent, I think, at the outset of that epilogue, that this house has been a character this whole time. And essentially, I think of the house as sort of becoming our protagonist. I think it was also apparent to us that it is a kind of musical event, which from a durational perspective has to have a kind of internal logic and a certain kind of rigor in terms of how time is organized.
It's award season for the stars of the stage at the Tonys, now just weeks away. But we're also excited to talk about the future of Broadway, the stars of tomorrow, the Jimmy Awards.
Does anybody have a map? Anybody maybe happen to know how the hell to do this?
The Jimmy Awards is a huge and amazing event that happens in New York City every year, featuring the absolute best of the best musical theater talents from high schools all across America.
It's an opportunity to really showcase amazing talent. It never dawned on me that there would be so much talent and the opportunity to support these kids, because so many of them, you never knew how many of them really wanted to have a career in it. And for us to be able to send representatives to New York to have that amazing experience that changes some of their lives forever.
And for a lot of them, it's a realization of, oh, I could actually do this. And I really do compare with all of these other kids from around the country too. And they build that confidence from there, so it's been really fun to watch them do that at the Jimmys too.
And that's going to do it for us. But for tickets, or if you want to check out extended cuts of all these interviews, head over to Broadway.com. I'm Tamsen Fadal, and this is The Broadway Show.